Good morning, everyone. Hi, my name is Avneet Mathur. I'm the AVP of Appian Customer Success here at Appian. My job is to make customers successful, whether that's doing implementation for you, whether that's enabling our customers or working with partners. And the best thing about in my job is I get to work with like amazing customers like Mark at Aon. Mark oversees application delivery at Aon, aligning his strategic initiatives at Aon to actually delivering the applications. I've known Mark since 2018 and like had a great time building applications alongside high side. So Mark, Aon, for people who do not know what Aon does, can you talk about the organization, like specifically what you do within Aon, like the group that you work with?
Yeah, sure. So we actually rebranded our marketing tagline about a year ago. So our new tagline is, "We are in the business of helping make clients better decisions," which I love. Like it's to me, it's a simple yet extremely effective message that really does encapsulate what we do. We're organized around four major solution lines. So there's commercial risk, there's reinsurance where I sit, and then there's wealth, and then there's health solutions. To give you a sense of scale, within the reinsurance, we do about 50 billion in premium annually. And if you look at the total number of volume of cash flowing through our systems, is about $60 billion on an annual basis. Reinsurance is not a new concept. It actually dates back to the 14th century. And it was originally around helping marine vessels, helping insure marine vessels. So, and I think I said this in the other one, so apologies if I'm repeating myself, but, reinsurance or insurance, sorry. Reinsurance is insurance for insurance companies. And I like to think about it more as it's making the impossible possible through risk diversification. And so, if you think about it, I've got a large wooden marine vessel that needed to sail halfway around the world to get goods and services and then ship it back. That is an expensive endeavor. It's a risky endeavor, a high reward, but to have a single insurance carrier carry all that risk is a lot. So through reinsurance, we can diversify through several reinsurers and make that journey more possible. In modern times, we still reinsure a lot of marine vessels, but now it's spaceships, satellites, high rises in hurricane-prone areas. And then there's a lot of reasons for reinsurance. So risk diversification is one of them. It can also be used as a mechanism to improve cash flow and get the results you want on your balance sheet, have more predictability in your losses. So yeah.
Awesome. So it's safe to say Aon is like a pretty large organization. And if anyone here decides to buy a boat, they know where to get the insurance from. So
yeah. I think we're about 50,000 colleagues worldwide.
Awesome. One of the things that we talk about at Appian is like, how do we help our customers? And our focus at Appian is to enable our customers through value hierarchy. So if you think about it, like most organizations, have a very targeted challenge that they're trying to solve. That's like, the level one where like, hey, I haven't encountered like an itch to scratch, and can Appian help us get there? So most of these applications are built in a couple of days, like a couple of weeks. They have like this lone individual business owner or IT owner that's trying to achieve this at the organization. As you go higher, we have several problems that we are trying to address within a business unit. And the challenge here is like you have these like heterogeneous applications that we have built over the couple of years, and what you want is like reusability within the organization to build applications faster. You want like reuse of like core components that you're trying to build, and a standard security model that you have that you don't have to rethink like every time you're trying to build like a new application. From that, we kind of move up to improving operational efficiency. And I see like a lot of our Appian customers kind of get there. You have like large organizations that have built applications over like a bunch of years, and where like the workflow and the process is very siloed, like the data is very siloed, And for you to achieve anything within the organization, you have to go to multiple systems, extract multiple data, make decisions that take time. And Appian kind of fits on top of that, where we are trying to orchestrate the process itself to make it more streamlined. We are trying to extract data from multiple systems to present to you, so you can make decisions much faster. And speed is always a big factor in doing Appian applications. Then comes the innovation for differentiation. Like I keep saying this, most of our customers, whether that's life sciences, whether that's insurance, whether that's financial services, does things very similar, but it's that unique thing, that differentiator that you have that makes you better, between you and your competition. Rather than using a COT solution where you're adapting your business to what the solution provides, the advantage with Appian is we build things that are very, very specific to you, which allow you to differentiate yourself from your competitions. You also have unique products and services just to be competitive in the market. I think we've all seen that over the last couple of years here. And then finally, you have disruptive innovation. And this is definitely the era for that, with all of the new technologies that are coming in, and companies trying to re-identify, rediscover themselves, where you are going to the market and you need to have the ability to try out new things, fail fast. And Appian aligns really well to that, where you have a concept that you're trying to try out. You're trying to build very unique services, very unique products, to get that efficiency, get that innovation, get that edge in the market. So Mark, looking at this value hierarchy, where do you believe Aon fits into this value hierarchy?
Yeah, we're between a 3 and a 4 right now. So focus in the early going was really looking at our claim premium settlement process and layering case management on top of that to make that more efficient. And I have this conversation with our developers a lot, where they initially were viewing Appian as all right, well, that's my presentation layer, that's my process layer. And I'm like, no, if you're thinking of it in that terms, you're really limiting the possibilities of it. And it's so now we're shifting and saying, all right, how do we add value to our clients? And looking at something like process modeling, saying, all right, we can make this claims process even faster, i.e. we're getting money back into our clients even faster. Being the largest reinsurance intermediary in the world has its advantage in that we've got a lot of data, and we can mine that data in a way to service our clients even better. So we're starting to look at not just in terms of orchestration, workflow, presentation layer replacement, but the ancillary stuff that you guys have started to suck into the platform as well.
Awesome. And just kind of leading up to that question, how do you think Appian has helped you get from trying to solve a targeted problem to a level 3, level 4, hopefully level 5?
Yeah. So there's kind of been if you look at this here, we've started on I guess how you're looking at it, on the right here under risk transfer, with a lot of the claim and premium settlement process. That's where we've layered in the case management. As you shift left along this here, you're getting to more of the upfront pre-sales type stuff. It's the wealth analytics, it's the risk analytics that goes into it, where we're advising clients, i.e. insurance carriers, here's how you can achieve your goals. And we're starting to push that automation further that way, and moving things onto the Appian platform.
Awesome. And anything that you have heard during Appian World that helps you with that cause?
I think we're definitely going to look into the process mining when we get back.
That's awesome. So what's on the roadmap for Appian at Aon?
Yeah. So really focuses more on the front end sales, placing applications, getting a streamlined placement process for our clients, making the data entry for our internal brokers more efficient. One thing we're starting to look at heavily is a notification mechanism. So brokers or clients can go and configure what notifications do they want to receive, when do they want to receive them, the mechanism they want to receive them, whether it's text or email, et cetera. And we're letting Appian orchestrate that. So it's self-servicing, configure notifications, and then the notifications get sent out. There's also been a big focus on pipeline opportunity management. So as sales or new ideas come in, we can alert people, say, all right, I'm going to throw leadership weight over here because this is a new client we want to get.
And the pipeline aspect is like basically growing your business, right? Like from where you are to where you want to be.
Yes, that's right. Yeah, so we've got a growth target of $100 million in new revenue over the next 3 years.
Awesome. Anything else that you want to add that you have seen over the last couple of days, like sessions that you have heard, customers that you have met?
Well, I mean, just some lessons learned. If you're new to Appian, some things that I would maybe recommend is, get off on the right start. I would say leverage Appian Professional Services to get you started. It's an easy platform, it's a simple platform, but as with anything, you can do things the wrong way. So getting off on the right start, and just with our case management, we put in 6 months of effort into writing user stories and acceptance criteria for how we were going to go about doing that. We actually threw it all the way. When Appian Professional Services came in, threw it all away. Said let's do this in an agile format, which we were still new to it at the time, but we threw it away. Had a sprint zero with our key business stakeholders, came up with a new set of requirements, and what ended up getting delivered was far better than what we had originally imagined. Like, we were coming from a traditional software development mentality. We didn't even know all what was possible with Appian, kind of what you get out of the box, what's easy to do, what's easy to maintain. So leveraging someone that's got that know-how skill set, I think is very important. And then from there, you can iterate and self-maintain. I mean, I guess the other piece of advice I'd give you is start building your talent in-house soon. We've had some success with getting some colleagues converted over to the Appian track. I think people that have like really strong, deep domain knowledge, that have maybe fallen behind the technical curve or were pigeonholed in a certain technology, but have that really strong domain knowledge, are like perfect candidates to move into the Appian space. We've had some great vendor partners over the years that have helped keep us moving as well. And then the other advice is probably just get your DevOps. If you have a DevOps person, get them bought in on Appian. Start looking at the deployment processes and approval processes, and how do you take Appian as a platform and integrate it with those things.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you. Want to open up for questions. We have like a lot of time for questions. Hold on.
I was just curious if there's any use case that you, Mark, know would be perfect for Appian, but you've struggled to get buy-in internally, and how you overcome those certain challenges.
No, nothing comes to mind. So getting the buy-in wasn't that hard. Well, I guess there's a few aspects to the buy-in process. So from a technology angle, obviously Appian is, Aon is a very large corporation, and with any large corporations, you've got diversification of tool sets in there. So we had not chosen like an enterprise standard yet. And so when I wanted to bring Appian in for our use case, that was a hurdle that I had to get over. But when you looked at it and said, gosh, we've got a set of existing enterprise applications, we need something that's industrial strength, that can integrate with it, has great customer support, active community, robust plugin market. It was a pretty easy sell for that. And then from the business side, it's funny because we were starting our agile journey at the same time that we had brought in Appian, and we had been trying to sell doing things in a more agile method. And there was one particular business user who was a little resistant to that change. And we've been trying to tout the benefits of agile, and she didn't want anything to do with it. And then I remember Appian Professional Services, like on the second day of Sprint Zero, are going over some things, and she leans in and goes, "Yeah, why haven't we been doing this thing doing this the whole time?" I'm like, yeah. So I think getting on the business side, iterating quickly, getting something to market sooner, that's helped the buy-in on that side as well.
You hinted at some You mentioned operational efficiency improvements. That much is obvious. But you hinted at using Appian for engaging with customers too. Did you
Yes.
customers? How did you use that? What benefit do you think that gave you?
Yeah, so there's two flavors that we've leveraged it in. So we had a use case where we wanted to revamp our internal sales broking process. And we actually did that in a way that led us to white label it and offer it back to other brokers to use it for placing of their business as well. So we've got a homegrown SSO authentication mechanism. We're planning to switch to Okta here in a little bit, but we actually federate with their Okta, so they sign on with their user credentials to our platform, which is an Appian PaaS platform.
And Aon is in the cloud, so that helps us achieve that
Yep.
like much faster, much
Yep.
easier.
You mentioned that one of your bottlenecks today is essentially you're limited by your own creativity and what you can find as a good use case for where Appian is. I'm curious to know what kinds of things are you doing internally to overcome that bottleneck? Identify places where you can tap.
I missed a word in your
Can you
question there
speak
that
up?
was really important.
That the first bottleneck that you're talking about right now is you're limited by your own creativity internally for how you transform processes with Appian. I'm curious how you're overcoming that bottleneck itself internally.
So if I understand the question, is it how we prioritize what we work on next?
Or identify use cases for the future as well.
Okay. Yeah, the use case identification, I guess there's two parts to that. So one is we've got an existing set of applications that was actually originally conceived as a Y2K mainframe replacement, and nothing's that old anymore, I promise. But it's in a constant state of enhancement. But we've all been doing this a long time. So kind of like collectively knowing the use cases of how do we get from soup to nuts an opportunity down to like the transfer of premium and claim dollars and everything in between, that we're well versed in because we live it and breathe it every day. I think the challenge is kind of like the creative aspect of saying, all right, how do we not do things the way we've done things the last 20 years? How do we innovate and do things differently? And that's where I say, having Appian Professional Services come in with a fresh look on things has certainly helped a lot. When we see ideas getting pulled into the Appian, like the IDP, for example, that's a trigger point for us to go, okay, let's investigate this and see if there's something else we can do there.
I remember like when we initially engaged with Aon and we're getting into discussions. I think like from a CS standpoint, we're coming in like brand new and we asked like a ton of like why questions, and it was like just amazing to see different perspectives in that room, kind of saying like, hey, this is how we do it, and then asking like the business user specifically and like IT, like, hey, what's another way of doing this? Can we simplify this? Was like very revealing, I think, both for the business within Aon, IT, as well as like Appian. So like I love that collaboration in that room for like the 2 weeks that we were like all the good times where we
Right.
could actually travel and be in the same room.
Yeah, and it helps just hearing maybe a similar message, but from a fresh face too sometimes.
Yeah, I call it like my dumb question. It's like I'm gonna ask you a dumb question. Like, why do you do this? Any other questions? John, hold on. This is Mike.
Mark, can you just speak briefly on our delivery model in terms of our use of Agile and the impact it had on Reinsurance?
Yeah, I mean, I think it was largely out of the book Scrum is how I would describe it. We've actually took that, layered in our ANisms and some of our SOX and compliance stuff that needs to go with it. But we try to model that for the rest of Reinsurance and do things the same way. So I'd say you guys set a good example. The proof was in what was delivered in a short amount of time, and yeah, it's been good.
Mark, one of the stats that I think like Bob Olson was talking about was just what the anticipated program was versus like what we delivered, right? Like, can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah,
It's kind of cool.
It's happened a couple of times. So where we look at a project and, of course, when you go for funding approval and stuff, you've got to put your best guess, ROMs, like how long is it going to take, how much it's going to cost. In both of our professional services engagements so far, things were delivered a lot quicker than we were expecting, to the point where it's like, gosh, we can actually increase scope of this and still stay on time and within budget. So I think there was, I think the phase we're doing right now for our treaty, something like an 18-month program that I think we're hitting all objectives in like 6 months.
Thank you. Great story so far. Growing on your journey with Appian, question on how you market yourself to your other lines of business to share the success that you've had, and how have they responded to that?
Yeah. There's an interesting dynamic, and I think it's true across all organizations that say, do you centralize, or do you, embed that skill set or that technology closer to the business? I'm in the camp that says get that closer to the business, and we're saying, if the power of low code is I don't need a team of hardcore developers. I need people that know Appian, working with people that know the business really well, and that works really well in a distributed market. And so that's the vision that I'm trying to sell across the other solution lines is, don't centralize it, because then you've got big intake, you've got conflicting priorities, you've got how do you fund multiple things, but rather you embed it within your solution lines is the pattern to go. Did that answer the question?
Awesome. I think we have time for like one more question, if anyone has.
Thank you. Great presentation. So my question is, so you mentioned that Appian is very great, sophisticated tool, and the first step is really important, and not to go to the wrong way. And my question is, do you have any idea of the specific wrong way which we need to consider?
Luckily, I don't know what the wrong way is exactly, because we didn't do that. But I mean, there were parts that we had Aon colleagues that were new to it, try to tackle. And it's like with anything. If you write a big loop, like a big iterative loop that's doing lots of stuff in between, and you're doing that synchronously, that adds time. Laws of physics come into play when you're moving a ton of data from point A to point B. It's only going to travel, as fast as it can. And so I think one thing we've learned is it's the good software development practices still apply with Appian. You can still do things the wrong way, but it's probably harder to make that mistakes, and it's easier to do things the right way is how I would describe it.
Plus from a platform standpoint, we have like checks and balances on like some of the processing itself, and then we have like health checks that tell you like, hey, you have a process that's like running way too long, like you might want to reevaluate that.
Yeah.
George?
Seems like we're wrapping questions with Appian, so I wanted to get back to your first comment. If I'm interested in a boat, do I email you? Insurance?
Yes, it's like mark.walsma.
Cool, thank you. Appreciate
Okay.
it. Yes, and I'll expect a good discount. Thank you.
Yep. Mark is giving an Appian World discount on all boats this week, just for this week.
But get the boat first, then the insurance poly, then we'll reinsure it.
All right, I think Mark, that's all the time we have. I really appreciate you coming here and like talking to us. Thank you, and I look forward to a journey.